Hey, what's up? Well, happy Thanksgiving. Can't believe this day is finally here. And I'm making a video in this room that I hardly ever go in anymore. And let's get to it. I can't believe the shirt is already 3 years old. But what I want to talk about in this video is I want to say that I'm very thankful for a number of things. Thankful for my health, obviously. And, just thankful that Trump won the election. And I want to talk about how I'm very thankful for buzz cuts. That's a very odd thing to make a video about, but I'm really, I'm thankful for the normalization of buzz cuts. And I really and truly, I'm thankful for this fun Halloween themed chair that I never got to use. I feel like Halloween was kind of a bust this year. And so, I like having a late Thanksgiving so that I can continue the autumn theme a little later into November. This is the latest Thanksgiving you can have, November the 28th. The one that's divisible by 7 is always the latest possibility of any, well, it normally is, because it's the fourth Thursday, so 4 times 7 is 28. If something is the third whatever of the month, then it's the 21st is the latest, and so on. So, without further ado, I just want to talk about kind of been wanting to make this video, but not really. I had to find my Thanksgiving shirt, and I got very frustrated just now because it got swallowed. That's why hangers are so damn important, to have specific hangers. It's a labeling system, because these shirts and clothing get swallowed by other clothing, and it gets very frustrating. Has me pulling my hair out when I can't find what I want. So anyway, I just want to talk about how thankful I am for buzz cuts and their existence. And I really wish, I wish my dad would, I don't know what he's got against going get his hair cut, but hopefully it'll happen very soon. But I think it's ridiculous that that with clippers being so easy to buy, just like any other appliance, you can buy clippers for a lot cheaper than what people are wasting on haircuts, especially for little boys and also for men, because just think about the number of times, just like cutting the grass. I mean, that's just like paying someone to cut your grass, when a lawnmower over time basically pays for itself if you can use one. And so I think that I wish it were more normalized to stop, putting barbers in business in particular. I wish it were more normalized to simply not pay for male haircuts at all. It should be an understood thing that men and boys in general should never, ever care enough about their looks. In fact, they should be born into this world and forced to wear onesies that say, "My looks don't matter." And they should be forced, into that mindset that they should never, ever care enough about their looks that they would pay somebody even like $10, let alone a ridiculous whopping $50 to cut their effing hair. That they could either do themselves or get someone to do. And it's just very infuriating, that with all the other things that you have to pay for in this world, that poor people will still set aside money. And when you think about how it adds up over time, to cut boys' hair, boys in particular, men, really shouldn't either, but, little boys, I'm of the mindset that, with them, everything about them should be done with the thought in mind to get as far away from looking like a little girl as humanly possible. And, since girls can have somewhat short hair, mine's a lot more than somewhat, since girls don't have to have 2 feet of dead cells hanging off of their head to be girls, I think that with boys, you ought to err on the side of keeping it as short as humanly possible. Barely having any hair whatsoever to tell what color it is. And I'm very thankful for that look, still being popular to this day. And I think it should be more normalized. And I think it should remain as such. As much as I don't like Pastor Anderson, I do agree with his choice in hairstyle. Because if every man had his hairstyle, then we wouldn't have to worry about being called dykes, for not having 2 feet of dead cells hanging off of our head, even though that's what he thinks we should do. He's not going to be the one unclogging our drain for us when it falls out, but, he tells us what to do with our hair. But I do like the thought of, little boys, prepubescent boys in particular, having as short of a haircut as they possibly can get. Basically the Bobby Hill look in the cartoon world. And I think that the world would be a much better place if there was very little deviation from that. If there wasn't much variation on the length of boys' hair, generally, except for the fact that it just grows out in between haircuts. I wish the only variation on little boys' hair would be the extent to which they can stand it between home haircuts, which could happen very often if you didn't have to pay for them. And I think it would just be a much simpler and better and happier world. Why do I feel that way? Because like I said, it would save a lot of money for poor people. You wouldn't have to be rich to look good or normal or neat. And, it'd be less of a status symbol, for boys to have a specific hairdo. And I think that's just ridiculous. This fading stuff that they're doing, a specific, sculpture that they make with hair, these barbers that, want to create an art project with a guy's hair. I mean, that's ridiculous. And besides, it's not going to look good for more than a couple days. It's going to grow out, just like a beard. They can do all these little fancy cuttings and all that, but that's going to grow out. So, the other reason I've always liked buzz cuts on boys, because it would make it so much simpler. And this is, my main reason that I'm going to go into. I don't have any boy dolls for show and tell. But I have had hours worth of fun flocking the hair of girl dolls to make them into boys. And it's such a fun and simple procedure. It doesn't take a lot of talent. It takes a little bit of time and effort, but it's pretty simple. And if something happens to it, it's easy to redo. It's just a very simple process of pulling out all the doll's hair, pulling out all of her hair plugs, and painting the scalp, where the hairline is, or where all the hair plugs used to be, the same color approximately as the eyebrows, with the exception of maybe a blonde with light brown eyebrows. And then you flock the hair, about that same color so that pretty much everything matches. So if the doll has thick brown eyebrows, a brown painted scalp, and flocked brown hair, it almost looks like a factory job if you do it right and evenly. And it's a very simple procedure to do. And the other thing it would do is, just like Bobby Hill, make it very simple to draw cartoon boys. You just color their scalp a hair color instead of a skin color and put some dots on it, and there you go, you're good to go. You don't have to sit there and actually sketch some fancy hairdo that has to always look the same and do it right from each different angle. He's not a sculptor, he's just basically a bald head with a hair color. So it would make cartoon boys a lot simpler to draw. It'd make it easier to turn girl dolls with flat chests into boy dolls, which obviously if they had boobs, then you would get a man doll, because, their male counterpart would have muscle. And it would just make life very simple. Parents wouldn't have to spend ridiculous amounts of money over a year's time to pay for boys' haircuts, in addition to everything else you have to buy for your kids. And, my dad, instead of procrastinating and getting his haircut, because, let's face it, I look okay. In fact, I look pretty good. I look better like this. And I'm kind of not in a hurry to get it chopped off, but oh well. But he looks terrible with his hair grown out, and so does every guy. Every guy. There's no guy in the world that wouldn't look better with a buzz cut. Not a single one of them. Not even Hitler. In fact, he needed a shave and a buzz cut. And then he wouldn't be recognizable as the monster that we know him to be. So yeah, every guy would look better with a buzz cut, and especially little boys, who are easily mistaken for girls, considering their lack of secondary male characteristics. And it further hammers home the point to them and everyone else that their looks don't matter. That it doesn't matter what a boy looks like, and that boys are not girls. And that, them having gross bodily functions and illnesses and all that, I keep going back to that, is not as out of character, because their looks, the way they look, smell, sound, and feel is not as important as it is for a girl, if you know what I mean. They're rough around the edges, so if they have a croaky, hoarse voice one day that can't hit the high notes, well, that's just to be expected of a boy. It's not remarkable or noteworthy. And so, yeah. Oh, and the other thing I want to end with this, I'm just so sick of talking about the Rugrats, but, really and truly, I'm just ashamed that I made so many videos about it almost 5 years ago. 5 years, man, does time fly. But, when you back away from an obsession, all you really find is just, you might still have the same conviction and remember why, but you're embarrassed that it was ever so important to you as it was. And that's how I've started to feel about Rugrats. Is that even if I were totally wrong about what I've been saying, which I'm not, and can never be proven wrong, but even if I were totally wrong and, like everything I've been saying were wrong, well, even if that were the case, it's still a stupid show. I never could put my finger on why I hated it so much, and especially hate Chucky. Because if you took out Angelica's pigtails on Rugrats, and you combed out Chucky's hair and her hair, it's about the same length. Angelica and Chucky would have the same length of hair if they both, combed it out straight. And so even if she were not the girl that puked on her daddy, even if she were not, all those other things that I've discussed, she would still be a girl with hair the same length of Chucky, and more importantly, he would be a boy in need of a buzz cut, which is the much bigger problem. I don't mind girls having borderline short hair, but if all boys had buzz cuts, you would definitely know who is a boy, and that's more important.